Well, hey guys. Yeah, it's me, scraping crud. No, you're not seeing things. I did repost the same video. And here's the thing. I had lost about 11 minutes of footage that I really wanted in this video, and I just found it. So, rather than having two videos on the same subject or just forgetting all of it altogether, I decided to, do this. Enjoy. Crud scrapers unite. Go forth. Go. Go away. Would you just shut it off? Hey there. Hello guys. Thanks so much for coming back and joining me. I hope we have a fun, what am I hooked on? A fun little adventure ahead of us as we continue the progress on the 40 Chevrolet restoration and resto mod kind of job we got going on here. In the 40 Chevrolet, some guy, resourceful guy, put a furred heater, about the same time period, heater. And I kind of, honestly, I was going to make a video on just going through that just for fun to see if we could go get it to work. But the heater core had a huge hole in it, and the motor, I couldn't get anything to work, and I didn't want to spend any more time on it because the owner wasn't interested anyway. He wanted a Chevrolet heater, not a Ford. So I got on eBay and I went ahead and I reordered him, or you know what I mean. Got him the correct heater again, at least one somewhat close, if not exactly correct. This exact model may have shown up a year later. This is a Harrison H-172. And we are just going to have to tear it down and see if this thing is going to work, and then we will refinish it and get it going for a guy. Let's dig in. So here's a closer look at it. You can see that somebody has repainted it more of a gold color. Originally it would have been your typical Chevrolet interior brown kind of hammer tone paint, puttyish, grayish, brownish. There obviously we see Harrison H-172. Not sure the condition of the motors. Of course they would be 6 volt. Not sure yet the condition of the heater core. I do have a backup plan. If you go to Brassworks.com, they make a modern heater core and modern motors, all 12 volt, ready to bolt right into this thing. Maybe we can avoid that. Maybe we should just do that no matter what. We're going to find out. First thing I want to do is I want to get this knob off, this little pull, because I got a son at home just chomping at the bit to mix together some silicone mold and cast that in resin. And we will go ahead and do 2 of them so they match color-wise. I got to figure out how to get that out of there. So what it had was little speed nut jobber that just slips over the shaft, basically. I think I can pull this out. Kind of like the old, how they would hold the wheels onto a little red wagon, and getting them off, you basically have to ruin them and get new ones. What we may do, I don't know. I could get some speed nuts and cast that in there and just do a different version. I was thinking of molding in machine screws, and we could put a nut on the backside. But anyway, there's more of that original paint. Okay, I gave it a bit of a brushing off. Just want to get most of that gold paint off of there in the dirt, of course. Just a nice kind of chocolatey brown color. So he can get to making the mold, and I will have to order some brown pigment for the epoxy. I'm getting ready to shoot some primer here, but I just want to double check, since this is you know, like a 1 year newer accessory. This hole and this hole were the Ford heater core holes, and then these three were the stud mounting holes, so that'll all get filled in. These are the original Chevrolet heater. I'll just do it from the outside of the cab here, but as we can see, everything lines up just like it should. So that'll work fine. We can hammer and dolly these holes. They look like they punched them, you know. Just drove. I don't know what they did. I don't know why they're so deformed. Anyway, that's all we needed to know. Alright, well, over the weekend I ordered beige hammer tone paint from Chevs of the 40s. Jim Carter's had a lot of information on it, but it doesn't look like they sell it anymore. They have a lot of products. Looks like they still have a bunch of paint products for the earlier cabs in the 30s, but not this shade. So hopefully that turns out real nice. We'll get into that. And I ordered from Brassworks the updated heater core and blower motor assembly. With this project, I just think it's a good idea, since we're going to have a pressurized system and 12 volts. We might as well just do it right. We may have to look for, it would just make sense to look for, whoop, you're okay, what do you need? It would just make sense to look for a 12 volt defrost motor as well. Now, unfortunately for today, I took my clutch head screwdriver set home already from taking the cab apart, and the main body of these are held together with clutch head screws. So I guess that waits for tomorrow. I'll get this defrost assembly off. My son and I, over the weekend, Saturday, we were also making molds and pouring resin, and we haven't had too many successes so far. He just did it before he came this afternoon again. You know, it kept getting better, so hopefully we will have some amount of success. Well, in deciphering what order of events needs to happen here, it really looks to me like in order to get this motor off, we got a set screw on the fan hub there, but we can't get to any of that until it looks like we have to pry open these tabs that hold the whole thing together. This is not going to do it. They are bent tight. Hopefully they don't just break. Well, that's disappointing. Apparently I do not own a clutch head small enough to fit these. In fact, no bit of any shape or size that I have fits in there. I didn't try small Allen heads. I could do that. They're not coming out hard, it's just very inconvenient. You know, I can turn them with a vice grip, but probably means they won't go back in unless I can get some kind of driver, because we definitely don't want to ruin the paint job. A 2 mil Allen head does go in there. Okay, I pre-loosened that one. Let's try a tight one yet here. Just clicking. Oh. That'd be a squeaker. So I take it this is what I'm getting, you know, from Brassworks. That's all kind of, yeah, that's all soldered together. And that motor would be fun to replace by the looks of it. Now, holding a fancy little emblem on, we have little bent over tabs, so I'll just try to bend over 2 of them and see if we can slip the others out. It's a little beat up. I think we can buff it up and make it look a lot better. May not look perfect, but what do you want at this point? The flying wings of the Chevrolet heater. There's some nice microphones in the shadow of the microphone there. Nice original looking paint there. Hammer tone. Cool. You gotta be stubborn on the last little bit, huh? Ornery critter. Well, may have to cut it off. Anyway, most is left. Oh, I got to get the motor off of there. Otherwise, we're getting set for ready to go in the media cabinet there, the blaster. This is what separates the frogs from the pollywogs. Taping off an ID tag on the back that'll never be seen, you know. The inside of this thing's dirtier than a 1970s PG movie. And that's pretty darn dirty. Okay, the only method that I can get any reaction with out of these tabs, I mean, they are stout. Taking a small screwdriver, a very narrow screwdriver, and getting it under there against the body and then prying out. Also been using this little tack tool, kind of an upholstery tack thing. I bought these. This is like a plastic pin thing, but they just weren't strong enough, narrower enough to get under those tabs. Now I'm hoping I can lift and slide them out of this side. We'll find out together here. May not work. If I can find a spot I can lift from. I think we should hook this to the engine and have like a 6-volt Pro charger. That would be sweet. Okay, I will tentatively try this. Oh, I may have to soak her overnight and heat it up probably also, because it is kind of rusty. Yeah. Before I ruin anything, I'm going to soak it. Excuse the mess once again. Things just always escalate so quickly. Oh, goodness. Anyway, I finally got the squirrel cage out and then the motor. So this was attached like this. got a flat spot on the shaft, of course, and that I ended up having to drill out the set screw that was in here. The set screw's right in line with one of the blades, you know, so you can't get a too direct of a bite on it with a screwdriver, and then it was a slot head screwdriver, and it played the game of rounding out one edge, then it just doesn't grab anymore. So I had to get nasty with it and drill it out. Not sure what I'm going to end up doing. I may even drill a new hole and tap it if I can from the other side. Obviously that hub all would have been manufactured, drilled, and tapped before they crimped it in the squirrel cage. So that just makes it a little more difficult, but we could get a nice socket head set screw in there. Not that it would probably ever come apart again. I'm going to look for a 12-volt motor, start there because we might as well. If I fail in that, we may look into this thing, open it up, put some new wires on it, and see if we can get it to run. I'm going to be priming a bunch of other parts for a couple projects again this afternoon. I've been doing a lot of that lately, so I might just get everything that needs to be blasted done here real quick, and maybe we can just get some primer on this while we're working on it. Now, I'm the kind of guy that even though primer may be perfectly adequate in situations, even Rust-Oleum automotive primer, we've proven it can sit outside for years in my CRC Zinc It videos and be just fine. Some of you may even have a car you've been driving for years in primer. And that's okay. You don't need me to validate your actions. What difference do I make in your life, right? So, you do what you do. However, I just never see primer. I just can't leave it there, is what I'm saying. So on the inside, I'm just coming in with semi-gloss black. Just giving it a final good coat, and we'll call it done. Alright, it's defrost time. What I ended up getting, well, I had this motor, but that's a 2-speed, and I don't think I can reverse the polarity on that one because there's no ground wire. So, and I think it's clockwise spinning, and I believe we need counterclockwise. Now, the original motor was painted, and for good reason. Well, okay, let me backtrack. So this is a PM355. If you need such a thing, you can look that up. But this gets bolted onto here. And I've made that hole spacing fit already ahead of you. And then that goes on there, or it will. And then once that assembly is done, then the other half of our little turbo here, the tabs get bented over, and then it all gets painted. I could paint them ahead of time, but then everything would get beat up and scratched up and it would look terrible, right? So I'm going to assemble this. Since our set screw is messed up, I may just tack weld, you know, just do 1 or 2 tack welds on the end of the shaft and call it done. Because I would pretty much have to bend one of the fins completely out of the way, drill, tap, and I guess a guy could try it, but that seems like an awful lot of work. Well, it finally happened. Probably, I don't know, 2 months later. We have our little heater core, cool little heater core from Brassworks. I said in the beginning that they make those. That was an assumption on my part. I believe I've even seen these for sale in other parts houses. You know, I don't know if Summit. I saw them pop up somewhere. But anyway, this is specifically made for this heater. And so we will check that out. Doesn't seem to want to go in. So that's cool. But anyway, we'll figure that out. Yeah. Now, in regards to the paint, you saw me paint it in this video only, very quickly, very briefly. I do have a separate video. If you have not seen that, I will put a thumbnail at the very end of this one, and that is all about how we derived at a very close imitation of the original hammered, bronzy, champagne-ish putty, you know, color that this originally would have been. And indeed, as we move further on into this rebuild project, speaking of the whole pickup, the entire interior will get the same treatment. But for now, let's figure this out, and then we need to get our knobs going and clean up our emblem. Well, isn't this just a big fat kick in the teeth? I mean, I got it in there, but my inlet and outlet are splayed out now, you know, and they're rubbing pretty hard. So what I need to do, I need to get them spread out, and then once through here, bring them back together again. And will it get ruined in the process? You know, that's the next thing. One would hope with a brand new heater, $350 heater core, purpose built for an application, one wouldn't have to do what I've just had to do. You know, I put a cross piece of wood in here and squeeze this together in the vise, and now it's finally fitting somewhat correctly. I'm going to cut this zip tie, and then cut this harness end off that they gave me so I can get it through the grommet. The next problem is I see no accommodation for holding this into this. It just sits in there, apparently. I could run big zip ties around this and you'd never see it. And I'm really contemplating just doing that. At this point, doing anything else. You know, I got that hole there, but I just don't know. I'm really thinking a couple zip ties might be the answer for now to hold that in. Now I told you we were going to do this in resin, which we did. We made a second knob here. We may as well have just 3D printed it. It was difficult. You know, we've got the 3 stems on the back here, and when you're pouring resin, you've got to provide a vent. We printed it like this, because doing it upside down just wasn't what we tried it several times both ways. And in the end, you end up spending way more time than you really want to on it. We ended up pouring it like this and had a vent for each one so air could leave and it could fill up with resin. It turned out okay. It's not perfect. Probably drawing it up and 3D printing it would have been better because I just ended up spray painting them anyway. So, to get it to match the OG, the Orig. And then I've cleaned this up the best I'm going to do more is just to push our luck. And the more time we spend on it, the more expensive it gets, right? So I've got these little push nuts, and that's all we're going to use to attach these. Or not. Alright, I ended up putting screws through the back of the new one. Kind of figured I would have to do that from the beginning. Sure enough, this on here. Alright, what I just ended up doing, I mean, this thing bottoms out nice and seems to sit in there nice now that I've got these at the somewhat right spacing. But there's just no means of attaching it, you know. What I ended up doing, since it does bottom out nicely, I just zip tied it to the frame where it won't be a problem. And I really don't, I mean, it's solid, so it's just kind of crazy, don't you think? And had I known that from the very beginning, we certainly could have done something about it. I guess joke's on me for getting ahead of myself before I had the heater core. If I remember right, I did not have a clutch head driver small enough for these things. So I ended up using a 2mm Allen key, whatever you want to call it. Now that kind of spins when it gets tight. Let's see here. I think this 3/32 is too big. I may have started it with the pliers actually. There, it got tighter. Kind of ridiculous. guess a guy could put different hardware back in it. A guy was struggling and was not holding it over a table, and it fell, and I put a big chip in the paint. When will I learn? Anyway, the the clutch heads, one of the holes was enlarged, so it was stripped out, it wouldn't get tight. So I'm putting some Phillips number 6 screws in it for now, whatever. And when we paint the rest of the interior, I'm gonna have to touch that up. That's just so aggravating, but that is life. That stuff does happen. And I seem to get my fair share of it, so that's cool. Anyway, let's get this defrostier on. Let's use the 57 battery here. Certainly moving some air. Right on. Do I need to reverse that? I think I need to reverse that. Oh yeah. Cool. Well, here we are back where we started, except we have quite a bit better looking unit here and ready to go back in the truck. Unfortunately, that's just how things go sometimes. You have such high expectations and excitement going into a project. I am going to make this thing great. It is going to look so good. And then problems, mistakes, things like that nature just start showing up, and you know, it'd be easy to get down about it, but in the end we can fix it. And there are a lot more things going on in this world that could upset me, should upset me a whole lot more than an old heater, right? We got to keep everything in perspective. So we'll just get to move on. I'm going to put this aside for now until we need it, and then we will take care of our little boo-boos in the end. Again, the heater core, not really sure what they were thinking. It's a slick little unit. I would buy one again, but I would probably... I really need to contact them after having put this in. I really need to contact them now and say, look guys, what's going on with this thing, right? Because, I mean, honestly, it's a great idea and it's a great little thing, but it needs some refining for sure. Anyway, 2 brand new motors, 12 volts, new heater core, ready to go. Oh, and a new knob. Although I am going to miss the crystal glass drawer pull. That was just classy, you know. Oh well, can't have everything. Thanks a lot for coming along, guys. God bless you. We'll see you on the next one. Gonna fire it up.